Hello, everyone. Earthangel here. I came on to talk about the second phase of awakening. This phase is some people, what I see is like, think about your brain, comic picture of your brain, and someone goes like this and kind of tears away and it opens up, right? And a lot of the things that you used to think of or you used to do, you no longer are doing that. It's almost like you're just taking it and you're just picking things out. And you're like, nope, don't want to do that. Nope, I no longer do that. Nope, I'm no longer hanging out with that person. It's like a lot of the things. This is the stage where you're going through the dark night of the soul. It's kind of like anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And you're actually, I don't know, I don't want to say a funk, you're in a funk, but it's an interesting stage where you just kind of go, I don't feel like hanging out with those friends. All they do is just talk about people, and I don't feel like doing that. I really don't. Or you know what? In this stage, a lot of the things that I've been watching on TV, they've been talking about are not real. Or they talk about how you're kind of addicted. Let's say McDonald's, and you're kind of addicted to what you watch. It is the programming, right? That they put in place so that you crave all of a sudden. I have a taste for McDonald's and I want to. No. I remember in stage two where a lot of the TV was off a lot of times. The only thing I watched was Hallmark movies because, sure, it helped me get through. The Hallmark movies were always they always end up, the guy gets the girl. It's wonderful, right? Or the girl gets the guy. And I just absolutely love that. But you go through and you're like, dang, why did he have to do that? You know what? He messed it up for them. He walked away. Or she did that. Why? You know what? She's not using her intuition. She's going off doing this other job. She knows that she really loves this guy. What's going on? You guys, I was getting into it. But as far as watching anything else on TV, the only other thing that I did watch, I love watching like the brothers and watching them fix things. I love those type of shows. They're people getting their hands dirty, or maybe cleaning up the yard or cleaning in the house, and yeah, they're putting in new cabinets, or they're doing that, or plumbing, or they're putting in the marble. I love the design stages of things. And so, or being outside. I have no problem with being outside and walking around, and or I cut the grass, or I help with gardening, or whatever it might be. I don't have any problem with that. Some people say, you know what? I can't believe you like being out there and you get your hands dirty. I sure do. You know what? When we grew up, my mom had us out in the yard all the time. She bought a new house, so there was no front yard, there wasn't a backyard, so it was always, we got to clean up or put some bricks down or put dirt here, plants here. And it was a process, right? And every time you turn around, my mom was like, you know what? Scratch that idea. It doesn't matter what work you already did. Scratch that idea. She wanted it another way. It wasn't until I got older that I said to Mom, you know, just tell us what you want, right? How do you want the backyard to look? What do you want? And we do it, and we start doing it. And then the very next day or the next week, she'd be like, scratch that. You know what? I've just been thinking something bigger and grander. And you're like, are you kidding me right now? Mom, I need you to sit down and write out what you really want in this yard. What do you want to see? Because you're like, I got my own yard to take care of. Anyway, I had to go off on a tangent on that. That was funny. But that's one thing that I like to do. I just, because I learned it in my childhood. So that's what we did. But during this second phase, you're spending a lot of your time kind of walking away from old beliefs, old way of doing things. You take the time to really think about your childhood. Really think about what happened to you. That's why in this phase I went through, it was kind of harder, but it made things easier for me. And the reason why I say that is because I grabbed my trusty dusty notebook. Let me get it for you here. Big notebook. And a pen. And I wrote down all of the things that happened to me in my childhood that everything that I thought about, what happened between friends or schoolmates, should I say, what the teachers might have said or taught us, what I learned about people at church, what happened when my dad would go off to war. And then you go through this, abandoning. I missed him. I loved him. I missed him. It seemed like when we were little kids, he was always gone. That's because he was out fighting wars. But we didn't know what was going on. Or, people having to deal with incest in their family, or just certain types of things. People were getting beat up, getting beat, And when I say beat, they're really getting beat. Some of you can relate to that because, when you hear stories from other people and they say, we used to get beat when we were younger, compared to, okay, children these days, they can call, CPS or some type of authority on their parents, or they can tell a teacher and the teacher will call, or, they have timeout or something like that. Just write all those things down from your childhood. How did it make you feel? Now, one thing that we had to deal with was we did get spankings. We did get, I call them beat, because I didn't like them. But I come from a big family. So my dad would just line us up certain things. Oh, I hated that so much. Write it down in your book, right? And then you start to think about you've got all these things in your book. And if I had that as number one, which I did not have it as number one in my book, if I had the spankings and the way, the unruly, the way that we were treated, I would, if I had that at number one, knowing what I know about Dad being gone or Dad being in the service, all the things that he had to go through war, and he had to see, and no wonder, he may have been like this or like that, or no wonder he treated us like this or like that, or no wonder. Those are the things that you start looking at now. But in your younger age, I remember when my son was born, and I used to think, I remember when I was pregnant, and I used to think, I will never, he'll never have to worry about that fear of being beat. Never. That didn't work for me. Although the alternative of time out and the way I did time out really worked for us, for both of us. Your heart was intact, you loved each other. He may have been mad at me, but or maybe for a second I was mad at him, but it worked out so that, you don't feel like your heart is just being ripped out, There are other things. You go back and you go, well, you know what? When I was in school, I had to encounter this. And you look at it and go, my teacher treated me like I was less than, or treated me like I was a dummy, or treated me like, and you look at your list. I raised my hand and answered this question and it wasn't right, and I felt bad, or, the way my teacher explained it, I remember raising my hand for a question and I answered it, and I was so proud of myself. But I had half of it wrong and half of it right. And the teacher explained, well, it could be this, or, it's not right because of this. However, when you look at it this way, it's right. I understand the way she said it to the class. I understand why you would think it was this, or why people would think. I was the only one that put my hand up to answer that question. No one else did. So it made me feel so good. And she didn't make me feel like I was just an idiot. She made me feel like I was important. Maybe half of your question, how you answered it, was not right. But then again, you did answer it correctly. So that made me feel so good. I was like, oh. But certain things, maybe something happened to you on the playground and a friend or who you thought was a friend, bullied you, or write it down in your book. Can you forgive them for what they did? Right? Did it change the course of your life? Were you guys never friends again? Or were you able to come back in high school and be friends? How did it affect you? It's important. Can you forgive them? First and foremost, how did it affect you? Then can you forgive them? And then can you forgive yourself for what went down, or how you felt about the situation, right? And as you go through from your childhood up till now, some people have really had to deal with a lot of trauma, maybe deaths in their family. Maybe they knew about the witchcraft that their family had done or what had been, what's going on. Maybe they were raped. Maybe there was incest in the family. Whatever it might be. Maybe your parents did drugs and they were not there for you. Write it all down in your book and say, write down what happened. Number 1, this is what happened. Then under that, write, can I forgive whoever it was that bothered you, who caused you fear or trauma? Write down, can I forgive my teacher, or can I forgive my dad, or can I forgive my mom, can I forgive my sister, can I forgive my cousin, can I forgive my friend, can I forgive my coach, whoever it is. Can I forgive? Right? My business partner, can I forgive? Start from your childhood. I split mine up. I went from childhood to 18 years old. Because for many of us, there's a lot that happens during that time. And so when I wrote it down, I looked at number 1 and I said, I read the reason. And I said, can I forgive them? Yes or no? I have a why and I have a no. And I would circle yes or no. And then you write, why can you not forgive them? If you can forgive them and you write yes, and you just really feel it in your gut, like, no problem here, I have peace in my heart, everything's wonderful, I can forgive them for that. Then circle why for yes. And then you ask yourself, Lex, ask yourself. I had to ask myself, I said, Lex, can you forgive yourself for that situation? Yes, I honestly can. And then I would go on to number 2. If you get to number 2 or number 3 and you notice that you just cannot forgive, because you go through the situation and sometimes you're like, I can't even finish reading this because I can't put myself through this again. Circle in for no. And then say, why can I not forgive them for this? I remember taking the time, I actually closed my book up because I was like, that's it, that's all I can take. I'm not gonna, nope. And I worked on myself. I had to work on myself and say, I couldn't forgive them because this. I couldn't. And then the very next day, I opened my book. And I went to number 3, or number 4. And I read it and said, yes, I can forgive. So I'm going to just, I forgive them and I forgive myself, right? And you go through your entire list. I'm telling you guys, it seemed like a good month or so, maybe longer, went on. Because sometimes you write the list and then you go, and it could be later on that night or another day and go, I forgot. I got to make sure I put that on the list. And I'll grab my book and I'll just write it down. I'll put it on my list right away because I don't want to forget that incident that happened to me. It was, a couple of weeks later, and I went back to that one question where I said no, and I read it again. And I still felt it in my gut. I was like, don't try to fake it. Don't say, yes, I forgive, when you don't completely forgive. So you can't write yes. You have to keep the no as no, right? But you can talk to yourself, and I remember going, okay, I'm gonna skip that. I tried it to see if I could forgive now. I'll have to come back to it. So each one that I wrote yes, I actually just wrote a line through it, and I was like, okay, I did this, this. And I just keep going. I went down my list. And, I went down to make sure that I was feeling totally okay, in that I was comfortable and peaceful in my heart. If not, it stayed no. And I remember every week I went back to that question, trying to see if there's, and I actually would, after I would I'd work on myself, and then that night I'd pray about it. Dear God, dear Holy Spirit, please, this one incident happened to me or several incidences happened to me, but this one particular one, I can't get it off my mind. It hurt me. I have a problem with it. I'm keeping it on the list. Will you help me to forgive? Will you help me? I surrender all to you. Will you help me get through this? And I would say sometimes it takes 3 months. Sometimes it takes 6 months. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes 3 years. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Just as long as you start the list. Just as long as you start going through the dark night of the soul. Just as long as you can get through the majority of your list, but you still have that one on there. And you still need to work on yourself. Can I forgive them? My parents did this, or my siblings did that, or my teacher did this, and I just cannot. But over time, keep talking to yourself. I love you. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. I'm so sorry. When you start to do the I'm so sorries, you actually get through the situation. I'm so sorry that the teacher treated you that way. I'm so sorry that it seemed like no one even cared. I'm so sorry that it went down like that. I'm so sorry for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That happens. So when you work through your situations, you find that a lot of that rough stuff that's in your heart, you're actually scraping it away. And you get to the part where you're feeling like, I'm feeling lighter. I'm feeling better. And you tell yourself, I'm getting through that situation. I could feel it. I don't feel as weighed down as I used to. I'm feeling better. So this is where your dark night of the soul happens. This is the stage where you need to work through everything that has happened to you. Please don't even look at the next stage until you have your notebook and your pen and you've worked through everything. Once you've worked through everything, oh yeah, I just thought of something. Let me add it to my book. Don't forget to do that. Add it, all right? Add it right then and there. I used to do that all the time. I keep my book right next to me and a pen because I'm like, oh yeah, I need to add that, okay? As long as it was special to you, it's a big deal. So please work through what you need to work through. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here. I love you guys. Anyone that tried to cause you any fear, conflict, anything that you had to go through, even when you were younger, and it would be like, oh, the boogeyman is in my room, or someone's under my bed, and I used to call mom or dad, to come and look under my bed because, or in my closet. Write all that stuff down. That didn't happen to me because I had to share a room, so I didn't have anything to worry about. But for those who had a room of your own and you went through that, write it down. Right? Write it down. Are you still plagued with it today, or have you let that go? And about how old were you when you let that go? And there are phases through all of this, but you can get through it. Anyone. We've all had to, there are many of us who have had to go through these stages in order to become a more loving and peaceful person. You got to do what you got to do to take care of yourself. So anyway, I just wanted to come and share that with all of you. I love you so much, and I will see you guys on the next video. Okay? Peace. Take care.